The station had been quiet for so long that the silence felt normal. It floated at the edge of known space, a small human outpost built around an old jump gate that no one used anymore. Dust and ice drifted past the windows. The lights hummed softly. For most beings in the galaxy, this place did not exist. Jonah Reed stood alone in the narrow corridor outside his quarters, holding a cup of bitter coffee. He was not a hero. He was not famous. He was a human officer assigned to watch a gate that never opened. His job was to report strange signals, run system checks, and wait. Most days, nothing happened. That night felt different. The station's sensors flickered once, then steadied. Jonah frowned and tapped his wrist console. The readings showed a brief power spike, like something had brushed the edge of the station's detection field. Then it was gone. Probably debris, he muttered to himself. He turned toward his door. The explosion came without warning. Metal screamed as the door was kicked inward, slamming into the wall with such force that it bent. Jonah stumbled back, spilling his coffee. Alarms failed to sound. Lights flickered, then held. A tall figure stood in the doorway. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver blue, patterned with faint lines that shifted like liquid metal. Her eyes glowed a deep amber, sharp and focused. She wore heavy armor made of layered plates, dark and scarred, marked with symbols Jonah did not recognize. The armor hummed softly, alive with power. Jonah's training kicked in. He reached for the stun rifle mounted on the wall. "Stop!" he shouted. The alien woman stepped forward and, to Jonah's shock, did not raise a weapon. Instead, she reached up and pressed a control on her chest plate. The armor unlocked with a series of clicks. One by one, the plates detached and fell to the floor. The sound echoed through the corridor like thunder. When the last piece fell, she stood unarmored and unarmed. She lifted her chin and looked straight at him. "Try to stop me," she said. Her voice was calm, strong, and carried an edge of challenge. It was not an invitation. It was a declaration. Jonah froze. Nothing in his training covered this. "Don't move," he said, though his voice lacked force. His finger hovered near the rifle trigger. He did not fire. The alien woman did not advance. She stood still, hands open, showing she carried nothing. Her posture was proud, but there was tension in her shoulders like a coiled spring. "If you were going to shoot," she said, "you would have done it already." Jonah swallowed. "You broke into a human station. You damaged property. You scared the hell out of me. Give me one good reason not to detain you." Her eyes flicked briefly to the broken door, then back to him. "Because I came here to live," she said, "or to die, and both are better than returning." Jonah lowered the rifle a fraction. "Returning to where?" "To my people," she answered. "To the Kareth Dominion." Jonah's blood ran cold. The Kareth were known across the galaxy, a warrior empire, ruthless, efficient. They conquered worlds and stripped them of resources, often leaving nothing behind. Other species avoided them. Humans had fought them once years ago and barely survived. "You're Kareth," Jonah said. "Yes. And you expect me to help you?" She took a slow breath. "I expect you to decide." Jonah looked at her again. Without the armor, she looked less terrifying, but no less dangerous. There were scars on her arms, old and new. Her posture showed discipline. This was not a civilian. "Why me?" Jonah asked. "Why this station?" "Because humans do something rare," she said. "You protect those who cannot protect themselves, even when it costs you." Jonah almost laughed. "You don't know me." "I know your species," she replied. "That is enough." The station trembled. Jonah's console chimed urgently. External sensors flared to life, this time screaming warnings. Multiple warp signatures bloomed on the display. Ships were arriving, many ships. The alien woman closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, there was regret there. "They found me," she said. Jonah stared at the readings. Kareth warships, too many for a lone outpost to face. His mouth went dry. "You led them here," he said quietly. "Yes," she said, "and no, they were always searching. This was only a matter of time." Jonah ran a hand through his hair. "You just put a target on my head." She met his gaze without flinching. "I know." Outside the station, space twisted as the first Kareth cruiser dropped out of warp. Its hull was massive, black and angular, bristling with weapons. More followed, forming a loose ring around the station. Jonah's console lit up with an incoming transmission request. Kareth command codes. He looked at the alien woman. "What did you do?" "I refused an order," she said. "An order to cleanse a colony world, a world full of non-combatants." Jonah felt a cold knot form in his chest. "They do not forgive refusal," she continued. "They do not forgive mercy." The transmission request pulsed again, more insistently. Jonah straightened. You picked the worst place in the galaxy to make a stand. A faint smile touched her lips. No, I picked the best. He accepted the transmission. A towering Kareth commander filled the screen, armored and imposing. His eyes burned with contempt as he looked through Jonah, as if the human were not worth seeing. This station is in possession of Kareth property, the commander said. Return her immediately. Jonah crossed his arms. She's not property. The commander's gaze sharpened. Human, you are insignificant. Do not involve yourself. Jonah felt fear real and sharp, but something else rose with it. Anger. She asked for asylum, Jonah said. Under human law, that means you don't get to take her. The commander laughed, a harsh sound. Human law does not apply here. Jonah leaned closer to the screen. This station is human-controlled. That makes it my problem. Silence stretched. Then the commander spoke again, his voice cold. You have 1 minute. The screen went dark. Jonah exhaled slowly and turned to the alien woman. You have a name? He asked. Yes, she said. My name is Valera. Well, Valera, Jonah said, you just made my night a lot worse. She inclined her head. I warned you. He looked around the small corridor at the thin walls and aging systems. This station can't survive a direct attack. I know, she said. So what's your plan? He asked. She looked at him steadily. That depends. Will you try to stop me? Jonah thought of Earth, of the stories he grew up with, of humans standing in the way of forces far stronger than them, not because they would win, but because someone had to say no. He sighed. No, he said. I won't stop you. Valera's shoulders relaxed slightly, as if she had been carrying a heavy weight. Then we stand together, she said. Jonah nodded once. First things first, we need to move. They'll scan the station any second. He led her deeper into the outpost, past narrow halls and old equipment. As they moved, Jonah explained the station's layout, its limited defenses, and the forgotten jump gate anchored to its core. Valera listened carefully, asking precise questions. You still guard this gate, she said. Why? Orders, Jonah replied, and because sometimes the quiet places matter most. She considered that. Your kind finds meaning in unlikely places. Yeah, Jonah said, we do that. The station shuddered again as a Kareth ship fired a warning shot nearby. The lights dimmed. Jonah's console flashed red. They're getting impatient. Valera stopped near a viewport and looked out at the fleet. Her expression hardened. They believe fear will break you, she said. It often does. Jonah followed her gaze. His heart pounded, but he squared his shoulders. They don't know humans very well, he said. Valera turned to him, studying his face. For the first time, there was something like respect in her eyes. Then let us teach them, she said. Far outside, Kareth weapons charged, and the forgotten station, once silent and ignored, became the center of attention for an entire empire. The station lights dimmed again, then stabilized. Jonah Reed stood at the main control hub, fingers moving fast across the old console. Warning symbols filled the screen, blinking red and amber. Outside, the Kareth fleet held position, their ships like dark blades cutting the stars. Valera stood beside him, watching the data streams with sharp focus. Without her armor, she looked exposed, but there was no weakness in her stance. She looked like someone who had made a decision and accepted its cost. They are scanning, she said. They will map every system you have. Jonah nodded. Let them, most of what they'll see is junk. That junk will not stop warships. Jonah gave a thin smile. Not directly. He tapped a control, rerouting power from habitation modules to the station's core. The temperature dropped slightly. The hum of the systems deepened. This place was built cheap, Jonah said. Old tech. Humans didn't think this gate would ever matter again. Valera glanced toward the massive structure visible through the inner viewport. The jump gate loomed like a dead giant, silent and dark. But it still has power, she said. Barely, Jonah replied. Enough to keep it stable, not enough to use it. Valera studied him. You are planning something dangerous, Jonah shrugged. That's usually how humans solve problems. A sharp tone cut through the air. An incoming transmission forced its way past the station's filters. Jonah cursed under his breath and accepted it. The Kareth commander appeared again, larger than before, his image filling the room. His expression was hard, impatient. Time is over, the commander said. Return the traitor. Jonah leaned back in his chair. We're still talking. The commander's eyes flicked to Valera. She has no protection here. You are delaying the inevitable. Valera stepped forward, her voice steady. I will not return. I will not obey an order to kill the helpless. The commander snarled. You shame us. Then let that shame stand, she replied. For a moment silence hung between them. Then the commander raised a clawed hand. Begin pressure fire, he said. The transmission ended. The station rocked violently as energy blasts slammed into its shields. Jonah was thrown sideways, barely catching himself on a rail. Consoles sparked. A section of the ceiling cracked, metal groaning. Shields at 40%, Jonah shouted, and falling fast. Valera braced herself. They are testing you. Well, test back, Jonah said. He activated a series of old defense protocols. Outside, small automated turrets extended from the station's hull, firing low-powered bursts. They barely scratched the Kareth shields, but they forced the ships to adjust formation. It won't hurt them, Valera said. It's not supposed to, Jonah replied. It's supposed to annoy them. Another impact shook the station. The lights flickered wildly. Jonah pulled up a schematic of the station. We can't win a straight fight, so we don't fight straight. Valera leaned closer, studying the display. Explain. This station was designed to support long-term human crews, Jonah said. It has environmental systems that can do more than just keep people alive. He highlighted a section near the outer hull. Heat exchangers. Radiation vents, old stuff, the kind no one updates anymore. Valera's eyes narrowed slightly. You plan to weaponize your life support. Jonah grinned despite the fear pounding in his chest. Humans do that a lot. He began rerouting power again. Outside, vents along the station opened. Invisible waves of extreme heat and radiation pulsed outward in irregular patterns. Not enough to destroy a warship, but enough to confuse sensors and disrupt targeting. Several Kareth ships drifted out of formation, their movements suddenly less precise. Valera watched the tactical display shift. They did not expect this. They never do, Jonah said. They think in terms of force, we think in terms of survival. The station shuddered again, but the impacts were less accurate now. Shields holding at 30%, Jonah said. That bought us maybe a few minutes. Valera turned to him. Why are you doing this? Jonah didn't look away from the console. Because someone showed up at my door asking for help. That's usually enough. That answer will get you killed, she said. Yeah, Jonah replied softly, but it also lets me sleep at night. A loud crack echoed through the station as a section of the outer hull buckled. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut. Jonah swore. We need to move, core section, now. They ran through the corridors as alarms wailed. The station felt smaller now, every step echoing with danger. Valera kept pace easily, her movements precise. As they reached the central chamber near the jump gate, the tremors eased slightly. The gate loomed above them, massive and silent. Valera stopped and stared at it. This gate, it is ancient. Older than this station, Jonah said. Humans found it drifting, damaged. No one could get it working properly. Valera approached the control pedestal. Kareth records speak of gates like this, unstable, dangerous. Jonah nodded. That's why no one uses it. She looked back at him. You intend to? Jonah met her gaze. I intend to scare them. Before she could respond, the station lights cut out completely. Darkness swallowed the chamber, broken only by emergency strips along the floor. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the station's internal speakers. The Kareth commander had overridden the comm system. Human, the voice said, your resistance is pointless, you are alone. Jonah activated a handheld light and looked around the chamber. Funny, he muttered. I don't feel alone. Valera stood beside him, her expression calm despite the chaos. We are not, she said. Jonah accessed the gate's old systems, fingers flying over the dusty interface. The readouts flickered to life, unstable but responsive. Come on, he whispered. Come on. Outside, the Kareth fleet tightened its formation. Energy weapons charged, brighter than before. Valera placed a hand on Jonah's arm. If you activate this gate incorrectly, it could destroy the station. Jonah swallowed. I know. And you still proceed. Yep, she studied his face, then nodded once. Then I will stand with you. A massive impact rocked the station, throwing both of them to the floor. Cracks spidered across the chamber walls. Atmosphere alarms blared. Jonah pushed himself up, coughing. That's it, no more waiting. He slammed his palm onto the activation panel. The jump gate groaned. Ancient machinery woke with a sound like distant thunder. Faint blue light crept along the gate's surface, pulsing unevenly. Outside, the Kareth fleet reacted instantly. Ships pulled back, weapons shifting aim toward the gate. Valera's eyes widened. They are afraid. Good, Jonah said. That means it's working. The commander's voice boomed again through the station. Shut it down, you do not understand what you are doing, Jonah laughed, a short, breathless sound. That's our specialty. The gate's energy field flared brighter, unstable waves rippling through space. Sensors screamed as gravity fluctuated wildly. Several smaller Kareth ships were caught too close. They spun out of control, their systems overwhelmed. Valera watched in awe. You turned a relic into a weapon. Jonah shook his head. No, I turned fear into a message. The commander's transmission cut back in, his image distorted by interference. Human, cease this madness. Jonah leaned toward the console mic. Leave now. Or stay and find out what happens when humans push broken things too far. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the Kareth fleet began to retreat. One by one, the ships pulled back, increasing distance from the gate. The station shuddered less violently now. The alarms quieted, though damage reports continued to scroll. Jonah collapsed into a chair, breathing hard. They're backing off. Valera exhaled, tension draining from her posture. You drove them away. For now, Jonah said, they'll be back with more ships, more force. Valera looked at the gate, still glowing faintly. Then this place will never be quiet again. Jonah followed her gaze. Yeah, he said softly, guess our quiet days are over. She turned to him, her expression serious but steady. You have changed everything for me. Jonah shrugged tiredly. Just another night on duty. Outside, the Kareth fleet withdrew into the darkness, wounded pride trailing behind them. Inside the battered station, a human and an alien stood together beside an ancient machine, knowing that what they had done could not be undone, and that the galaxy would soon take notice. The station's lights flickered as the damage reports scrolled endlessly across the console. Jonah Reed leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. Outside, the stars glimmered as if nothing had happened, but he knew better. The Kareth fleet was gone for now, but the threat lingered like a shadow, waiting for the first sign of weakness. Valera stood beside him, arms crossed. Her silver-blue skin shimmered faintly under the artificial light, and her amber eyes scanned the displays with a precision that never wavered. Despite the calm in her posture, Jonah could sense tension. She had survived centuries of war. Every gesture, every breath had meaning. We've bought some time, Jonah said, breaking the silence. Not much, but time is what we have. Valera tilted her head. They will return with more ships, more firepower, more threats. You cannot hold them off alone. Jonah gave a small shrug. I don't plan to hold them off alone. Valera raised an eyebrow. Then you have a plan. Jonah leaned forward, tapping on the interface that monitored the jump gate. The machine hummed with unstable energy, still glowing faintly with residual power from their last activation. It's old, dangerous, but it can do more than just stabilize. If I push it right, it can create a short-range warp burst. Enough to move this station out of their immediate path. Valera's eyes widened slightly. You would move an entire station. You understand the risks. Yeah, Jonah said. I also understand what happens if I don't. They'll come back stronger in this station, and you won't survive. Valera studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Humans are reckless. We're persistent, Jonah said with a grin, trying to ease the tension. Close enough, though. She allowed a faint smile, the first one he had seen since she arrived. It felt human. They began working together, rerouting power, reinforcing structural nodes, and recalibrating the jump gate's field. Every step required patience and precision. Jonah had to improvise constantly, using old protocols with new logic. Valera contributed her knowledge of Kareth technology, showing how the enemy would likely react to specific maneuvers. Hours passed. The station shook occasionally as residual attacks from scouts who had remained in the sector tried to probe them. Jonah and Valera worked without pause, their focus absolute. Exhaustion crept in, but neither acknowledged it. Finally, Jonah leaned back and exhaled. Okay. I think she's ready. He nodded toward the gate. Its energy shimmered brighter now, almost like a heartbeat. We trigger the field and the station moves, just enough to buy us space from the fleet. Not a permanent solution, but a start. Valera approached the control console. Once we activate this, the Kareth will know it was humans behind the interference. They will consider humanity a direct threat. Jonah shrugged. I can live with that. The galaxy should know what humans are capable of. Valera's amber eyes locked on his. You are brave, foolish, but brave. Better than the alternative, Jonah said softly. With careful synchronization, they activated the jump gate. Energy surged through the station's conduits, making the floor vibrate beneath their feet. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the air smelled of ozone and burning circuits. Jonah and Valera braced themselves, hands gripping the console tightly. The jump gate's hum rose into a resonant tone, shaking the station from end to end. Outside the viewport, stars warped and twisted as if space itself had bent to their will. Jonah's heart pounded in his chest, every nerve on fire with tension. "Hold on," he shouted. "Here we go!" A bright pulse of energy enveloped the station. Instruments screamed. The hull groaned under immense stress. Jonah felt his stomach lurch. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the motion stopped. The station hung in space, slightly displaced from its previous coordinates. Outside, no Kareth ships were in immediate sight. Valera exhaled. "It worked," Jonah wiped his brow. "We're alive for now." The station shuddered lightly as automated systems stabilized. Jonah and Valera exchanged a look of mutual understanding, temporary victory, but a dangerous one. Then a new signal appeared on the sensors. It was faint, distant, and unlike anything Jonah had seen. A fleet, but not Kareth. Its energy signatures were uneven, almost chaotic, but they were closing rapidly. Valera frowned. "They are not Kareth." Jonah leaned forward, analyzing the data. "I don't know who they are, but they're coming toward us fast. Could be allies, could be opportunists." Valera's expression hardened. "We must prepare for both," Jonah nodded. "All right, let's see what humans can do." He activated the station's defense systems, rerouting remaining power to weapons, shields, and environmental systems. Valera helped calibrate targeting protocols, combining her knowledge of Kareth tactics with Jonah's improvisational strategies. Together, they created something the galaxy had not anticipated, a human-alien defense system that relied not on overwhelming force, but ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination. Minutes later, the new fleet appeared on the horizon. Ships of various shapes and sizes, clearly from multiple species, hovered cautiously, scanning the station. Jonah's heart skipped a beat. This could go very wrong. Valera stepped beside him. "You are calm," she said. Jonah shrugged. "Humans have a habit of staying calm when it matters most. We adapt." The fleet commander's voice came through a universal translator. "Station 17X, identify yourself. You are in disputed space." Jonah straightened. "I am human, and this station is under human protection." The fleet remained cautious but silent. Jonah knew this was the moment of decision. If they acted wisely, they might gain allies or at least delay an attack. Valera's hand brushed his arm. "Trust them?" "Sometimes you have to," Jonah replied. "Sometimes that's the only way to survive." He gestured toward the viewport. "Watch this." Jonah triggered a demonstration sequence. The station's energy pulses formed a controlled pattern, harmless to nearby ships but unmistakable as a sign of power and capability. It was a warning. Humans could fight back, and they would. The fleet commander's sensors analyzed the pattern. Their transmissions grew cautious, respectful even. Jonah could feel the shift in attitude. Across the galaxy, beings underestimated humans for centuries. Now the story was changing. Valera watched, a faint smile forming. "They are learning," Jonah nodded. "Humans have been learning too. Every mistake, every risk, we survive, we adapt. And when we do, we become dangerous in ways others cannot predict." The fleet commander finally spoke again. "Very well, we will observe, but know this, we will be watching." Jonah exhaled, leaning back in relief. "Observation is better than attack." Valera studied him, her expression softening slightly. "You are remarkable, Jonah Reed." He chuckled faintly. "Thanks, I try." For the first time in days, the station felt still. The jump gate's hum returned to a steady pulse. The temporary safety allowed them a moment to breathe. Valera walked over to the viewport, watching the stars. "You have changed the galaxy tonight," Jonah joined her. "We did it together. Humans alone couldn't have pulled this off, and neither could a single Kareth exile." They stood side by side, looking out at the infinite expanse of space. Despite the danger, despite the uncertainty, there was pride in what they had accomplished. "You know they'll be back," Valera said quietly. "I know," Jonah replied. "And when they do, we'll be ready. Humans always are." Valera's eyes met his, filled with respect and something that resembled trust. "Then I will remain here, at your side," Jonah nodded. "I wouldn't have it any other way." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, holding the promise of new challenges and new victories. For now, humanity had shown the galaxy that courage, ingenuity, and determination could defy even the greatest threats. A single human and a single alien had turned the tide, proving that no matter the odds, humans were a force that could not be ignored. The station, battered but alive, floated in quiet triumph, its unlikely guardians ready for whatever the galaxy might send next. And for the first time in its long, forgotten history, it felt alive, not just as metal and circuits, but as a symbol of resilience, unity, and human spirit. Jonah Reed and Valera stood together, knowing the galaxy had learned a lesson. Never underestimate the courage of those who fight not for conquest, but for what they choose to protect. The stars twinkled as if agreeing, silent witnesses to humanity's quiet victory and the new legend it had begun.